Hello, and welcome to Chakontas on Friday. I'm Mr. Chakonta, and this is my co-host.
Mrs. Chakontas.
And this is a new podcast that we'll be releasing on Friday. Just talking about life, our experiences, and everything in between.
So sit back and enjoy the journey.
Hello, and welcome to Friday with the Chakontas. Got it right?
Yes, you did.
Yes, okay. And I'm Mr. Chakonta.
And I'm Mrs. Chakontas.
And this is our podcast. And on this podcast, we talk about life, our expectations, and everything in between. And today we've got a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
Which is
Unmet Expectations.
Yeah. And it's a very interesting topic. And I think maybe a lot of people will relate to this. Because as we are getting older, we find a lot of things in our lives that we expected them to be at a certain stage, but they're not there yet. And then we have to address it on a day-to-day basis as we're going through life. And we just hope that we can speak into this situation. So how do we come up with this topic?
Well, you were telling me about the book that you read.
Yes.
Tell us about that book.
So I was reading a book called We Go On by, what's the name?
John Onwuchekwa.
Yes. So he's, I think he used to be a preacher. I think now he's more focused on other things. So he was writing from a perspective of trying to analyze the book of Ecclesiastes. And taking the book of Ecclesiastes and applying it to his own life. So one of them, he went through a very traumatic event of losing his brother. I think it spoke to me in that same situation just from that point. Because also I lost my brother about 2 years ago. So it gave me that emphasis of I wanted to read more. But I think he wasn't just talking about grief. He was actually talking about the aspect of just life in general. And how we plan things, but in our planning there comes a level of where it doesn't match with what we had in our mind. And then with that comes a lot of disappointment, depression, and we just feel as if especially for the believer, that God is not working with us. So you're saying, how do we address that? And the book of Ecclesiastes brought some light to how we address the whole situation. Because Ecclesiastes is like somebody who's gained everything in life, but still finds the meaningless of life. And now he's trying to put everything in perspective. And through that, the one conclusion he has is he will not find joy and satisfaction without God.
That's true.
And then I think that's now how we address our net expectations as we go through our life journey. So how do you, when you think of a topic like that, what comes to mind?
Of Unmet Expectations.
Just in general, how do you define it, or how do you, if you had to apply it to your own life, how can you see certain things where you say, okay, I've seen A, B, C, D, and these are some things that are probably unmet. Maybe not even part of your life, but just in general, that as people are going through this adult journey, and they're saying, how do I navigate through these things?
I think I'll relate it back to myself because I mean without realizing that I have experienced or I'm experiencing day by day life of unmet expectations. And the honest truth is that it's hard. It is difficult because it comes with a level of maybe being disappointed, or it can make you unhappy, it can make you sad, it can make you embarrassed, it can create a lot of emotions depending on what those expectations that you had were. And I think one of the things that we do a lot of as human beings, or bringing it back to me, that I do a lot of is, you talk about it. I'm quite a planner.
Yeah.
So I will, the way you said yeah there.
But you're a planner. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead.
No, it's not bad, but it's there needs to be a balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm quite a planner, and so there's certain things that I might have planned, but I expected them to turn out a particular way, but they haven't, or I planned and they just didn't go to plan. And it's been difficult, but I think in this season, that's something that I'm realizing more, because I think before I would maybe just be disappointed about it, but I think now I am realizing how little power I have over my life. Because I think that I've grown up with, a lot of, feeling like I have control. You do say, go to school, do well after school, get a job, and I was looking for a husband. I found a husband. God brought me a husband. And things worked in the way I would have liked them in certain areas, but even though they did that, that's not because of me. That's not because I planned and it worked out. I'm starting to realize that God is the one who plans my life. I feel like I have so much control, but I really don't have a lot of control in my life. Life can change in a split second. So much can happen, and I think experiencing so much change later on in my 30s or later in my 20s and early 30s, my mind has started to realize that. And I think in one way it kind of relaxes, it's starting to relax me, because I'm just like, God is the one who decides my life. God is the one who decides when and how. God is the one, I will continue to sort of plan as, in a way to be wise, but not allowing myself to feel like I'm in control of this, because really I'm not in control of it. And it's quite good, because then I'm like, oh, God is the one sorting me out. I don't need to stress about it. I don't need to, why the pressure? Why am I stressing myself? I'm not the one who created me. God has created me for a purpose, and He knows where He wants me to be at a particular time, like at the millisecond. He knows how to time my life to the T. What am I doing? I don't even know what time is. You know what I mean? Like the way God understands time. So I think I'm at a better place now dealing with my unmet expectations, and it's allowing me to enjoy day-to-day life.
Yeah. No, that's good. And like you were saying, I think one of the things that we learn when we're going through a season of unmet expectations is, as we were saying, the little control that we have. Because as human beings, we want control. And because we are people who want to know where we're going, what we're doing, if what we're doing will bring results, if we're putting so much energy in something, we want a reward in that situation.
Yes. And
with that, it comes to a point of where we don't really put in perspective, why are we doing what we're doing? Because when we're just doing something, we are doing it for the sake of, I want a result. I want a result. And that is not the way we're created to do things. Because we can see even through scripture that God is challenging the people through scripture and saying, I want you to do things because I've told you to do them. Not because you want a result from it. Because when you get that result, and that result won't bring fulfillment, and it will only give you a certain aspect of joy for a season, but then you start chasing for something else. But what I want for you guys is true satisfaction, and true satisfaction is found in me. And I think for us, I know that from the theoretical side, but going it through a practical side is one of the hardest things. Because you don't. Unmet expectations is more on the side of where you don't know where it's going to hit you, because we have a lot of expectations to the point of where we even have blind spots, to the sense of saying, even in this situation, I want God to basically be part of it. Even though we know that we want God to be part of it, but in our mind, in our hearts, we feel like, oh, I did ABCD, and I deserve this. And because of that, we come to that sense of where we go into a spiral of where we now get depressed. We get either anxious, and these are things that we're wrestling and thinking God is not on our side as we are going through those situations. So yeah, I understand, like, that's one of the things I'm going to learn. And I think maybe that this thing of unmet expectations is probably, maybe God is trying to teach us that the only way you guys are going to learn about who I am is go on and plan, but I won't allow those things to come in that. I won't allow them to come at maybe I won't allow them to come because they're not in my will, or I'm going to delay them so that you can focus on me. Because I want you to focus on me, so that even when that thing comes, you can be able to focus on me with the aspect of being thankful, not because of what you've got,
but because of what God has done.
Yeah. So, and I think this is I think this is a lesson that we probably learn, especially when at our ages. I don't know, maybe some people learn it earlier.
That's true. I think you're right. Actually, I think some people might learn it earlier.
But I think
we've learned it.
We've learned it in a later.
In our marriage as well, and I think that's also put a skill on things and has made things difficult in some ways, because you might have, those are your expectations, but then also how do you deal with a partner who is in a stage in life where they're dealing with endless expectations? How have you been there for me when I'm trying to deal with the situations where, like, I'm like, oh, I thought this was going to work out, I thought this is how it was going to be, but actually it hasn't. And how do we support each other? Because as I said at the beginning, it's not easy. It's easy for us to say this now, and it doesn't mean that if there are more things that we would like to have, and it doesn't mean that in future or anything was to present itself, we'll just be like, yeah, that's easy, but we will hopefully have taken a lot from the previous experiences, so we don't go through it again to that degree, or don't go through it again at all. But how you've been sort of supportive in that, and the importance of having people that you can talk to. It's not just, we're not saying, because I said it's not easy, so it's not something you have to go through by yourself. If you've got people who you can trust, and you can share some of the struggles that you're going through and some of the things that you wish had come to pass by this particular time.
I agree with that. But do you think that social media has also enhanced the aspect of us feeling aware of that our expectations we amplify our expectations higher than we should amplify them?
That we amplify our expectations. I see what you're saying. I might be agreeing with you, but so I think so. I think there is definitely an element of that. Yes, I agree with you. I think it's social media. It's got its positives, which we're not addressing at the moment. But one of the things about social media is, you're right, it brings to light everybody's achievements. One of the things that we're good at doing on social media is sharing what good is happening in our lives. Very rare do you see people who will share the difficulties they're going through. And if they do, it's usually a group, and on that group they're being anonymous. They're trying to seek advice. So it's very rare, and I'm guilty. I will sometimes post some achievements that are good, but things that I'm going through that are difficult, no, I don't. And so we have this idea, of what everybody's doing. And then you also have even people that, if social media wasn't, it wasn't a thing. It was back in the days where it was telephones and letters. Even people that you went to school with, if you're not in contact, you're not going to know. So you have a small circle of people that you actually know what is happening. But now it's almost like if you go on social media, the whole class that you graduated year 7 or year, secondary school, so you can see what everybody is doing. Even though you don't talk to them, you don't know the realities of what they're going through. You just have this painted idea of things are going great for them. Look at them, and then you're there like, oh, what about me? And things that I can think of at the moment are people, if you wish to get married, if you wish to have a particular job, if you wish to have children, all of those things, and it's just in your face, really.
I think also social media is like, it is something. It's like you're indirectly comparing. Saying, it's like a race, and just saying, oh, that person is doing something, what about me? So I'm behind.
No, it's true.
And because I'm behind, what do I need to do to get ahead? And it's like you're racing with someone's timeline.
Yeah, exactly. You're not even in the exactly. You're racing someone else's life, and God has created a particular path for them. You're not in the same race. You're literally racing a race that you're not in the same race with, which does not make sense. But our minds engage into comparing and contrasting, and when you start to have envy and jealousy and all these things that are profitable to the human spirit. And it's just, social media has some of its own problems, but it's something that I think we need to be able to recognize and remember who we are. We are running our own race, and unfortunately we don't really know much about that race either, except the person who's running the race with us, which is God. It's very different. You don't know when the finish line is. Most races, you know when the finish line is. You know where the obstacles are. If it's those ones where they jump. That after so many meters, you gotta gear yourself up to jump over that bar. But this race is a race where you do not know. You don't know the second, the millisecond of what is going to happen. But you just have to put your trust in God.
Yeah, and I think another thing also, like, if you go into like the book of Ecclesiastes, you're seeing a person who's achieved everything but is still depressed. So how can you speak into a situation where, like, you feel somebody, especially like when you're looking from the outside, you're seeing somebody who's achieving so many things, but you're saying, why are they depressed? They have this, they have that, they have A, B, C, D. Is it a right way of thinking from the one who's on the other side?
So the person who's lacking is thinking, why is that person depressed when they have things that I want?
Yeah, basically saying, at least it's like there's these comments that we normally have where we're saying, like, it's like sometimes we diminish some of the things that we're going through. It's like, let's say for example, it's like, I want that car. And then the way you diminish, like, you really want it. You feel like you work for it, but then you say, okay, but at least you're comparing yourself, but at least I'm not working. Or something like that. Then the person who's working is like, you're crying over a car. And I'm working. So it's basically now trying to now say, like, you have this expectation, even though you've gotten all these expectations, you're still unhappy. And how do we speak into those situations?
Those are layers, Mr. Chakontas, that you have addressed right away. I'm just like, because a number of things come to mind, but so I think because you've asked two questions, although they're in the same cover. So the first one was I'm just saying man as a human being, looking at another man who appears to have everything, but is still unhappy, but the other person is like, well, why are you unhappy? Why are you depressed? And this comes back to looking at what is the cause of depression. Why is that person depressed? Because you can have everything and still be depressed. That is completely true. But the question is why? Is it because that person is also looking at, he might be a millionaire, but his circle of friends are billionaires, not the people who are earning the $500,000. Like, he's like, no, that's not I don't look at that. For me, I'm looking at all my friends who are all billionaires. Why am I still stuck at 10 million? So that's just a superficial way of me looking at it. But actually, it's not really superficial. But that's just one example. And that person might be legit and that legitimately depressed. And that can get somebody really depressed. There's so many reasons why people are depressed. It could be financial. It could be relationships. It could be family. It could be, grief. It could be they might have everything but they don't have companionship. They might be lonely. They might be unwell. There's literally so many reasons for depression. But that person looking at that person looking out, you're not so close that you're going to know fully what that person is going through. So I don't think us as human beings maybe this is a bold statement, I can see why we could have that mindset of saying, well, you've got everything I want, but why are you depressed? I think that makes us become less compassionate, because just because that person has everything they might have what you have. They might want what you have, which is companionship at home, which is love. They might have gone through a divorce and you are still married. So there's so many things that person can be going through, and each individual. And this is why we're saying social media, for example, only paints certain elements of someone's life. So if you're just looking from the outside, you don't know the day-to-day life of that person. And especially if you're looking at the material side, then that also should now be asking yourself what really fulfills you. And I don't think, I might be wrong and you can correct me, but I don't think as Christians we were created to be fulfilled. Well, no, I might not be wrong, I think I'm correct. We were created to be fulfilled by material things. The only thing that truly fulfills us is God. So whether you're a rich Christian or a poor Christian, right, it doesn't, you can both be at a high because of what, if you get what I mean, you can both be on the same level. It doesn't matter about the materialistic side of things. Whether I make 1,000, the other one makes 10,000, the other one makes 1,000,000. It's that. And then also I think that's just a summary of, because there's so many things I could say about the other example, but then the example you mentioned, which is similar, about, let's say you find a car that you really like, and then, but yeah, at least you've got a car, and the other person is like, well, at least you've got a car, I'm walking. And I think that also is a reminder, that should also in the other way remind us of, we sometimes are not grateful for the seasons where we're in. And that person is right. You've got a car that's going to get you from A to B. So what is the driving factor that's making you want that new Mercedes Benz? And that's talking to you, by the way. Why, Rita, do you want that car? Because it just looks so nice, and it's got the curves, and it's just looking so good. But the question is, what are the reasons why I really want that car? Is it because I want to show off? Is it because I want people to look at me and be like, you see, she's a doctor and she's driving the right car. That is the car you should be driving for your status. Is it because I just like the car, I have the money and I can buy it? And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong if I have the car and I want to buy it and I can afford it. I don't think that makes you, but I think it's your heart, like, why do you really want it? But I do think that this is why, I always make jokes about being rich and being a Christian. It's not easy but yeah, my point is being content. Being content in that season, in that example that you gave, and recognizing that, you know what, you might be driving a 2,000 car, a 2,000 as a million year car, like 20-year-old car, but you are able to get from A to B. Whereas your friend cannot afford that. They would love your car. that they can only walk or they can only cycle. And even the one cycling is complaining, the one in car, but the other one can only walk. There's so many things that I think I can start preaching and everything. There's so many things I think that sometimes we can easily be ungrateful for and not walk in our race.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? And I think because of that situation, as we've talked about, social media, comparisons, and also the aspects of being ungratefulness, it can build that elevation of why you're thinking your expectations are not being met.
Yeah.
And with that comes, if we don't deal with it in the right perspective, there's a high level of us going into sinful patterns to address those cravings.
Yeah.
And I think those are the things that we need to be aware of. It's okay to have those feelings, but if you don't just stay on those feelings and address them with your own power, those feelings actually give you that understanding that there is actually the void that's within you as a human being. Is you can't find satisfaction on this earth, and the satisfaction you have is in God. So now, how do you now address that? Is you reach to God and ask Him for help in those seasons where you feel unfulfilled, because God actually knows the situation of how you're going through the situation.
Definitely.
And because of that, He's now going to help you address those unmet expectations that you feel you're going through.
Yeah.
And He's trying to also help you understand that in due time He'll either give them to you if it's His will, or He will change your mind and actually give you a peace of mind that will actually help you understand that maybe it was not a good thing for me to actually have that.
That's true.
And maybe my if I got that, it would take me away from my relationship with God.
Yes.
And I will glorify so much of the gift and the giver.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we are not prepared for that season. And I think sometimes everybody needs to understand we are running our own race. And it's very hard to understand because the world has become so small. And the smallness of that world is, we're not just in communities, but we're actually in global communities because of the internet and everything like that. And you can see everybody's race, and you're saying, a fraction of everybody's race. And I think the way probably social media has been designed is we put those elements of our success and we just put them there, and then we're now comparing. I'm successful here. What about you? What about you? And I think that enhances a lot of people's their self-worth is now built on how can I compare myself to my ex-friends or the journey that they're going at the moment that I can see over social media. And I think also Unmet Expectations also brings a level of where it's very hard for us to be authentic. And also build relationships, because with relationships it builds like an aspect of a level of weakness, because we feel like I can't be the one who's going to my friends telling them I'm struggling with ABCD because they wouldn't understand what I'm going through, because they've got the same things I'm struggling with, they have them. And how can I talk? How are they going to understand me? And it also brings a level of loneliness and a level of where we box ourselves from other people, and we don't even go and seek help. It takes away from the aspect of us going through those situations that God has actually given to us for us to be in healthy relationships with Him personally as well as also with others, because those things should actually help us actually go to people and ask them, I'm struggling with this, pray for me. Or I'm struggling with ABCD, how do you deal with ABCD? Or going to God, but because of us comparing so much, we go into our own shells, and when we go into our own shells, the high level of us compromising is very high. And I think this is one of the things that we are trying to also understand, that when you focus so much on your unmet expectations, if you don't address it in the right way, there's a high chance of you going into a position of where you'll be open to temptation and sin.
Yes.
And I think that's something we need to pray against. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, and anything else that you want to add on this topic?
Not for today.
Oh,
But
yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, no, you know what? There's a lot of things to
Yeah,
talk
there's
about.
definitely a lot.
I think we'll probably maybe do another part
I
too.
think so. I think we have to come back to
Yeah.
the details a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that we also invite other people who are listening, maybe you write a comment and just say, okay, how do you address A, B, C, D in this situation? Maybe we can speak into that. We're not experts or anybody who can give advice, but just sharing our thoughts.
Yeah.
And we hope that if we've said anything wrong, that you guys should give us grace, correct us, write in the comments, and help us see maybe in a different light. But if anybody is going through unmet expectations, we just we ask that God can help you through the season.
Yeah.
Because don't define your whole worth based on that season. Because especially for the believer, don't go away from the aspects of what God has given you to address those situations that you are struggling with. God knows and He understands. And sometimes we just have to go to Him. All the time we have to go to Him, and He will help us address those things. Yeah. So this is the topic that we wanted to discuss as we have come back after a long time. Hopefully, we will continue putting out a bit more, more episodes. And so thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much.
And until next time, take care of yourselves. God bless.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll like, subscribe, as we always say, and share. And so until next time, bye bye.
Bye.